The moment the shuttle touched down on the council's platform, silence fell over the crowd. All eyes turned to the hatch, banners of judgment fluttering in the wind. The crowd had gathered to witness a punishment, a spectacle of justice. But what stepped out instead was a human, dust-covered, eyes sharp, and beside him, the girl they had cast into exile 3 cycles ago. Thin, gaunt, and with the trademark silver lines of her alien heritage now dimmed across her skin. Kayla stood half a step behind him. Her posture trembled, but her chin remained high. It was the only pride she had left. "Citizen 4229H, explain yourself," boomed the voice of High Chancellor Dravon, flanked by armored guards whose weapons were already half-raised. That female was banished by unanimous vote. Aiding her return is treason. The human didn't flinch. "Her name is Kayla," he said, "and I didn't bring her back for mercy. I brought her back for the truth." Gasps echoed through the court. Truth was more dangerous than treason. 3 years ago, Kayla had been accused of betraying the coalition. They'd said she leaked defense codes during a border war with the Tarsky Dominion. Evidence was flimsy, but her bloodline, descended from a conquered race, had made her an easy scapegoat. She was 16. She was exiled into the waste without trial. He remembered watching it happen. He hadn't known her then. Just a girl, head bowed, as stones were thrown and shouts of "traitor" followed her into the desert. But something in her eyes had haunted him. Fate, or coincidence, brought him back to her. He'd been sent to survey the deep zones for ancient tech, but found only ruins and wreckage. And her, half-starved, barely alive, but alive nonetheless. At first, she had tried to run. Feral, frightened, but he hadn't raised a hand. Just left food and returned the next day. It took weeks before she trusted him enough to speak. "I didn't do it," she whispered once. "But it doesn't matter. They were always going to choose someone like me." Now, they stood together again on that shining platform, years of sand and survival behind them. The Chancellor's voice broke the pause. "Truth? What truth?" He pulled a data chip from his vest and held it high. The defense codes came from a compromised terminal on Dreven's own command ship, recovered from a buried relay station. Your station. The crowd stirred. Kayla's hands shook. The guards moved to seize him, but he stepped forward, throwing the chip into the air. A drone caught it, streamed its contents to the council's feed. Screens lit up around the square. Reports, signatures, timestamps, all pointing not to Kayla, but to Dreven's inner circle. "Lies," Dravon snarled. "Manufactured. Human sentimentality has clouded your mind." A counselor stood slowly, then another. "We demand an internal audit," one said, "and full access to the relay records." Dreven's mask cracked, just slightly. Kayla looked around, her fingers gripping the sleeve of his coat. She wasn't used to so many eyes, wasn't used to not being hated. Whispers buzzed through the crowd. A few held signs demanding justice, but many still looked uncertain. Then a child's voice rang out. "That's the traitor girl." She stiffened. A mother reached down, silencing the child. But others joined in, some shouting support, others calling for execution. The tide could turn either way. He took Kayla's hand and stepped forward. "You want her punished?" he said, voice calm but sharp. "Then punish her for surviving when you left her to die. Punish her for learning your language, your customs, for still calling this place home even after you spat her out." He looked directly at the Chancellor. "But don't you dare call her a traitor. Not when your own hands are red." That's when the gun fired. A bolt of red energy whizzed past his ear and struck a counselor square in the chest. Chaos erupted. Screams, scrambling feet, guards raising shields. Dreven's cloak flared as he shouted, "She's armed. Take them down." But it wasn't Kayla. From a rooftop, a cloaked figure reloaded. Another shot rang out, hitting a drone. Snipers. Silencers. "Cover up." He tackled Kayla to the ground, shielding her with his body as another shot seared the stone near her head. The crowd scattered. Counselors fled. The guards, confused, hesitated. "She's the witness." Dravon roared. "Eliminate her before this spreads." But too late. The feeds were still active. The drone had kept broadcasting. The crowd had seen it all. A few guards broke ranks. Some turned toward Dravon instead. Others stood frozen. Then, a crack of thunder, not from the sky, but from a railgun mounted above the plaza, cut through the air. A sleek transport descended, black and unmarked. The hatch opened, revealing soldiers, real ones, wearing the insignia of the Terran Intervention Corps. Neutral, powerful, watching. A woman stepped out, coat fluttering, rifle on her back. We picked up a distress feed. Seems like there's been a bit of a mess here. Dravon tried to assert authority. This is a sovereign planetary issue. No, Chancellor, she interrupted. It's a war crime cover-up and an assassination attempt on a cleared witness. She turned to Kayla. Are you willing to testify before the Terran High Tribunal? Kayla stared, speechless. Then she nodded. Everything moved fast after that. Dravon was restrained. The snipers fled but were hunted down. The plaza was sealed. And Kayla, trembling but upright, walked into the transport under Terran protection. No longer an exile, but a key witness. He went with her, of course. In the weeks that followed, everything came undone. The tribunal uncovered layers of corruption. Dravon had sold data to both sides during the war, the prolonged conflict, and his power. Kayla's exile had been a convenient distraction. She didn't speak much during the hearings. Just enough. Her voice still shook sometimes, but her eyes didn't. When the final ruling came, she didn't cry. But when they offered her full citizenship and compensation, she asked only for one thing. I want to go home, she said softly, to the desert. I want to rebuild what you burned. They sent engineers, volunteers, aid workers. And he went with her again, as always. The sun was harsher than he remembered, but Kayla didn't flinch anymore. She walked the dunes like she owned them. You were supposed to be a footnote, he teased one evening as they sat on a ridge, watching the wind carve patterns in the sand. An exile, a forgotten name. She smirked faintly. You were supposed to follow orders. Stay out of trouble. Terrible at that. She nudged his shoulder. Thank you for not letting me disappear. He didn't say anything, just took her hand. The world had wanted them executed. Her by exile, him by defiance. But fate, stubborn and strange, had other plans. And in the silence of the setting sun, the desert finally felt like home.